This is the story of the valleys of South Wales. Once thriving coal mining towns and villages, the communities who live here now are steeped in poverty and sickness.
Today, Wales has a reputation for being the sick man of Europe. We have illness problems which look like developing country problems, because these are the problems of poverty, poor diet, substandard housing. These are the problems of development.
The social problems left behind by a redundant coal industry are mirrored in the landscape, which is scarred with reminders of the past. This edition of Life investigates why communities here have become some of the most deprived and unhealthy in Western Europe, and meets a man with a mission to change them.
If you live in Wales, there's a greater chance of you dying younger than in any other part of Europe. And that can't be right.
Along with health promotion and wealth creation, Life finds out how the valleys of South Wales are becoming green once again. At the turn of the 19th century, Welsh coal powered large parts of the world. At a time when ships, locomotives and industry ran on coal, South Wales produced a third of total world coal exports. But the miners and their families would suffer for their contribution to the British economy. One of the 4 countries in the United Kingdom, Wales today is struggling to keep up with its better off and healthier neighbours.
We shouldn't see developed countries as having triumphed over all the problems of development. These are the pockets of underdeveloped country in a developed nation.
Lindsay Whittle comes from a long line of miners. Today he is leader of Caerphilly Borough Council. In his lifetime he's witnessed the decay and dereliction that came with the closure of the collieries.
When coal was king in these valleys, at its peak, the coal industry employed 40,000 men and boys. Now it employs none. Many of those men and boys were to lose their lives and were to lose their health. Behind me stands the winding gear, a proud and silent monument and tribute to those hard-working men and boys and the communities that they served.
Like thousands of former miners across the valleys, Willie Miles has been breathing through an oxygen mask for almost 20 years. He's lost the use of one lung altogether and can only use a third of the other.
If you've got this, nobody can help you. You've got to put up with it and enjoy life as you can. I've had a good life, can't grumble about that.
Willie's son Ron also used to work in the mines.
When you're talking to him and he's struggling to breathe, you find that you're breathing for him. When you think back to what he used to be and what he is now, he used to be very active. And of course he's non-active now, but he can't even get out of the house, really. Unless he's carried out, you know, because even to go to the toilet, he's sitting down with his mask on, with his oxygen on for about 20 minutes and he can't even speak, you know, until he gets his breath back. And obviously worse it's going to get, but it's not a very nice way of living, really.
But it's not just the Welsh mine workers who suffered. Whole communities lived in the shadow of danger. In 1966, a tragedy occurred that would change the course of Welsh history.
Disaster struck suddenly this morning at the small Welsh coal mining village of Aberfan. Soon after 9, a mountain of slag piled high behind the village and loosened by 2 days of rain, slumped and spilled across Aberfan. The village primary school, in which 200 children had just begun their first lesson of the day, was smashed and half buried under rubble.
October the 21st, 1966 was possibly the darkest day in Welsh history. Every town and village had a slag heap above it, and